IAALS, the Institute for the Advancement of the American Legal System at the University of Denver, invited judges, journalists, and scholars to examine a timely and compelling issue: how best to evaluate the performance of appellate judges and justices and share that information with voters. IAALS Executive Director and former Colorado Supreme Court Justice Rebecca Love Kourlis welcomed the attendees by pointing to the significance of the conference.
We have gathered a diverse and very experienced group of panelists and participants in the hope that we will all learn from each other.
IAALS is a national independent research center on the front lines of recommending models and proven practices for evaluating judicial performance. Key questions posed to conference participants and attendees included the unique roles and responsibilities of the appellate judge, how these aspects of the appellate judge's job may inform improvements to existing JPE processes, and how best to communicate these messages to the public. Dean John T. Broderick, Jr. of the University of New Hampshire School of Law and former Chief Justice of the New Hampshire Supreme Court, described why he's been a proponent of judicial performance evaluations for years.
One of the reasons we did it is because I thought it demonstrated our willingness to be accountable. Not to be bullied, but to be accountable, to be transparent. And also, I think, to improve our performance as appellate court judges.
Nearly 100 people attended the two-day event in Denver. Chief Justice Mark S. Cady of the Iowa Supreme Court was the featured speaker.
The appellate court, as we've been finding out, can be quite vulnerable to attacks. And there really hasn't been a broad effort to evaluate appellate performance. And it's much more difficult, I think, to evaluate appellate performance as opposed to trial court judges. So it's absolutely critical that we not only begin the process, but to move it out, to give the voters the tools that they need to become competent voters.
Professor Jordan Singer of New England Law echoed Chief Justice Cady's comments, in particular because of the effect judicial performance evaluations can have on the public.
Appellate judges hold a special role in the voter's psyche. Appellate judges deal with the most controversial cases, and often they don't have any choice. And so to give voters some context as to what appellate judges do over the course of their entire terms is critical.
Such evaluations are not always positive, but Justice Dana Fabe of the Alaska Supreme Court said qualitative feedback has long-lasting benefits on the judiciary.
I will say that it's not always easy to get that feedback because sometimes it's critical, hopefully constructively critical, but it's really wonderful for judges to understand how they're perceived, given the importance of perception to the public's trust and confidence in the bench.
IAALS published a final report summarizing the key points of the 2011 Appellate JPE Conference and formed a task force to develop recommended practices for evaluating the written opinions of appellate judges. IAALS also works closely with coordinators of JPE programs around the country and monitors the development of new programs. More information on these topics is available on the IAALS website.